They say some inheritances come in the form of land, money, or family heirlooms. But sometimes an inheritance is a burden, wrapped in mystery, tied with danger, and sealed by secrets someone would kill to keep hidden. In a forgotten corner of Kansas, a struggling father and his little girl stumble upon a machine that could change the world. But the world isn't ready to change. Before we begin, take a moment, hit subscribe, and drop the name of your town or city in the comments below. Let's see where this story reaches tonight. Now sit back and imagine the wind across the cornfields as we begin The Inheritance Below. Scene 1. The Letter. The morning sun was weak, the kind that filters through blinds in streaks of pale gold, cutting across a room filled with yesterday's exhaustion. Daniel Cross sat at the chipped kitchen table, staring at a pile of envelopes that had been gathering like vultures. Rent, electric, medical, all stamped with the same quiet cruelty: past due. He rubbed his face, feeling the roughness of his beard. The coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he still cupped the mug like it had warmth left to give. Across from him, Lily sat on her knees on the chair, her small fingers wrapped around a crayon, drawing something with pure, unbothered joy. Her tongue poked from the corner of her mouth, that little habit she'd had since she first learned to write her name. "What you drawin' there, Bug?" he asked, his voice rough from too many sleepless nights. She looked up, eyes bright as morning. "Our house," she said proudly, "with a big garden, and a dog, and a swing." Daniel smiled, though it ached. "That's a nice house," he said. She nodded, serious. "It's ours, when we get rich." He laughed under his breath. "Yeah, one day." But behind that faint laugh was a tired truth. His job at the auto shop barely covered food and gas. Since Rachel left 3 years ago, everything had been a balancing act between hope and exhaustion. That's when the knock came. 3 short raps, sharp and official. Daniel frowned, wiping his hands on his jeans before answering the door. A man stood there, mid-50s, gray suit, a county badge pinned to his lapel. "Mr. Cross?" "Yeah?" "I'm with the probate office. I'm sorry for the intrusion, but I have some documents regarding your late uncle, William Cross." Daniel blanked. "Uncle Will? Haven't heard that name since I was a kid." The man nodded politely, handing him a thick, sealed envelope. "He passed 2 months ago. No next of kin except you." Daniel frowned, turning the envelope in his hand. "He left me something?" "His property, 40 acres in Mason Hollow, comes with an old farmhouse, some land, and a few outbuildings." Daniel gave a half laugh. "A farm? I wouldn't know the first thing about running one." The man's smile was tight but kind. "Well, it's yours now. Sign here, and the deed's transferred." He signed, more out of disbelief than excitement. When the man left, Daniel just stood there, staring at the letter. Lily tugged his sleeve. "What's it say, Daddy?" He knelt, pulling her into his arms. "It says, we just inherited a farm, Bug." Her eyes went wide. "A real one? With animals?" "Maybe," he said, chuckling softly. "Guess we'll find out." That night, Daniel packed what little they had into the old blue pickup. A few boxes, some clothes, Lily's stuffed rabbit, and his toolbox. As they drove out of Wichita, the city lights faded behind them, replaced by open skies and endless cornfields. The radio played softly, a country song about coming home. Lily pressed her face to the window. "It's so dark, Daddy." He smiled. "That's how the sky's supposed to look, kiddo, when there aren't too many people trying to fill it with lights." They drove for hours, until the road narrowed into a single lane lined with tall wheat and silence. The air smelled like rain and dirt. When they reached Mason Hollow, the town looked like something forgotten by time. A single gas station, a diner flickering with an old neon sign, a small post office with peeling paint. Then they saw it. The farm. The house stood at the edge of a wide field, framed by dying trees and a rusted windmill that creaked in the breeze. The white paint had peeled away in places, exposing the wood beneath like old scars. Daniel turned off the truck and stepped out, boots crunching on gravel. The air was colder here, cleaner too. He inhaled deeply, feeling the first real breath of peace in years. Lily ran ahead, laughing. "It's huge!" He watched her twirl through the tall grass, the wind lifting her hair like something out of a dream. For the first time in a long while, Daniel smiled, not the forced kind he gave customers at the garage, but something real. Welcome home, Bug. The next morning came with the sound of wind and birds. Daniel woke to sunlight streaming through cracks in the window. Lily was already up, crouched by the door, peeking outside. "Daddy, there's a barn," she said, pointing excitedly. He smiled groggily. "Well, let's go see what Uncle Will left us." The barn was big, bigger than the house, weathered red with old horseshoes nailed to the door. The air smelled of dusk, hay, and something metallic. Inside, time had stopped. Tools hung on hooks, cobwebs stretched across rafters, and a tractor sat like a sleeping giant under a tarp. Daniel ran his hand over the workbench, blowing off a layer of dust. Man, this place hasn't seen daylight in decades. Lily wandered, stepping carefully around old boards. "Daddy, look!" She pointed at an old photograph pinned to the wall. A man in overalls standing proudly beside the same barn. Uncle Will, young, smiling, full of life. "He looks nice," she said. "Yeah," Daniel murmured. "He was different, smart, always building things." As he spoke, he moved a few planks aside, and then heard it. Clang! A sharp metallic sound beneath the floor. He froze, then tapped again. Clang! Hollow. "Daddy?" Lily whispered. He knelt, brushing away the dust with his hands, revealing a square outline in the wood. "Go wait outside for a sec, Bug." She nodded, stepping out into the sunlight. Daniel pried up the boards with a crowbar. Beneath them was an iron hatch, cold to the touch, locked with an old brass padlock. He frowned. What the hell? The lock came off easy with his hammer. The hatch creaked open, releasing a breath of cold, stale air. Below was a narrow stairway, spiraling into darkness. He hesitated, but curiosity won. He grabbed his flashlight and climbed down. The light caught on walls made of concrete, shelves lined with notebooks and machinery. And then he saw it. In the center of the room, half covered in a tarp, was a large cylindrical machine. Smooth metal, intricate wiring, a faint hum, like it was sleeping. He pulled the tarp off. The words on the side read, "Quantum Resonance Conversion Engine, W-Cross, 1989. Daniel stepped closer, running a hand over the metal. It was cold, but there was power in it, a silent vibration beneath his fingers. On the nearby table lay a journal, its cover cracked and faded. He opened it. "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't finish what I started. This machine can pull energy from the very fabric of space, clean, endless, untraceable. But they won't let it live." Daniel's heart thudded. He turned the page. Diagrams, equations, notes about resonance loops, quantum harmonics, and zero-point flux. He didn't understand half of it, but one line stood out. It works. He stared at the machine again, a soft, rhythmic pulse glowing faintly from its base. He whispered to himself, "Uncle Will, what did you do?" Behind him, Lily's voice echoed down the stairs. "Daddy, you okay?" He turned, forcing a smile. "Yeah, Bug, I just found something." "What is it?" He looked back at the machine, the hum steady, alive. "I don't know yet," he said softly, "but I think it's important." The drive to Crescent Valley University took just under an hour, but to Daniel it felt like crossing into another world. The open farmland faded into paved streets, modern buildings, and the kind of glass and steel architecture that made a man like him feel out of place. He parked the dusty blue pickup among polished sedans and electric cars, earning a few odd looks from passing students. He wasn't supposed to be here. That much was obvious. His jeans were stained with engine grease, his shirt faded at the shoulders. Still, he carried something inside him no one else in that parking lot did. A secret humming beneath his barn. He gripped the notebook tight in his hand as he walked through the glass doors marked Department of Energy Sciences. The lobby smelled of coffee and ozone. Posters of solar arrays and clean energy breakthroughs lined the walls. Students in lab coats brushed past, too busy to notice him. "Can I help you?" asked a young receptionist, barely glancing up. Yeah," Daniel said, clearing his throat. "I need to speak to someone who knows about experimental power systems." The woman blanked, clearly not expecting that. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's important." Her tone softened just enough. "You might want Dr. Carter. She's in the back lab, but she's hard to catch." Daniel followed the hall, the sound of faint humming growing louder, not mechanical, but electric, alive. Then he saw her. Standing at a workstation surrounded by glass panels and glowing monitors, Dr. Evelyn Carter looked nothing like the kind of scientist he expected. Her dark hair was pulled back loosely, a pencil tucked behind one ear, safety goggles perched on her forehead. She was leaning over a small prototype of some kind of magnetic converter, focused, intense, until she noticed him standing awkwardly in the doorway. Her eyebrows lifted. "Can I help you?" Daniel hesitated. "Yeah, I think you might want to see something I found." "That's usually how all great horror stories start," she said dryly, setting down her soldering pen. "What kind of something?" He stepped closer, offering the photo he'd printed that morning, a picture of the device under his barn. Evelyn took it, expecting nonsense. Then her eyes narrowed. "Where did you get this?" "It was in a room under my uncle's farm. He passed a few months ago. His name was William Cross." Her expression changed. She studied the photo again, then flipped it over like the answer might be on the back. "This looks like early quantum resonance tech, but this design—" She stopped herself, looking up. "This shouldn't exist." Daniel shrugged. "Yeah, that's what I figured when I saw it glowing." That caught her attention. "Glowing?" He nodded. "There's a low hum, too, like it's still running." For the first time, she looked genuinely intrigued. "Can I see it?" Daniel hesitated. "It's about an hour out, on my property." Evelyn considered him, eyes narrowing slightly. "You're not some conspiracy nut, are you?" "Mechanic," he said simply. "Single dad. Don't have time to be crazy." That made her smile, the first spark of chemistry between them. Fair enough. She grabbed her coat, a laptop, and a flashlight. "All right, Mr. Mechanic, let's see what you've got buried under your barn." The drive back was quiet at first. Evelyn's gaze stayed fixed on the window, watching the endless fields roll by. "You said William Cross?" she finally asked. "Yeah, my uncle. We weren't close." "I've read that name before," she murmured. "He was a defense contractor in the late 80s, worked on renewable energy before the government classified his projects. Then he disappeared." Daniel frowned. "Disappeared?" "Resigned, went off-grid. Some said he was paranoid. Others said he got too close to something he wasn't supposed to finish." Daniel's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Sounds about right." The farmhouse appeared on the horizon, lonely against the orange Kansas sky. The setting sun painted the land in copper and fire. Evelyn stepped out, the wind tugging at her hair. "This place," she said softly, "it feels haunted?" She smiled faintly. "Historic." Lily ran from the porch, barefoot, her hair bouncing. "Daddy," she called, then stopped shyly when she saw Evelyn.
Daniel knelt beside her. "This is Dr. Carter. She's here to look at Uncle Will's project." Evelyn crouched, smiling gently. "Hey there, what's your name?" "Lily." "Well, Lily," she said, "I think your granduncle might have built something very special." Lily tilted her head. "Like a time machine?" Evelyn laughed. "Maybe even better." They walked to the barn together, Daniel leading the way with a lantern. When Evelyn saw the hatch in the floor, her breath caught. You weren't kidding. They descended the steps carefully. The air was cold, metallic. The hum grew stronger. And then, when she saw it, the machine, standing in the dim light, her mouth fell open. "This is impossible." She moved around it slowly, fingertips brushing the edge of the metal. "These are quantum resonators, but these don't even exist on the open market." Daniel folded his arms. "So it's real?" "It's real," she whispered, "and it's alive." Her laptop beeped as she connected a scanner. The readings made her stop mid-breath. "This thing is generating a constant electrical output without any fuel input. Do you understand what that means?" Daniel looked blank. "Free power?" She smiled, amazed. "Free everything. Infinite, clean energy. No emissions. No waste. This machine could replace fossil fuels, nuclear plants, everything." He stared at the hum of blue light under the device. "My uncle built that? Alone?" Evelyn shook her head, awe in her eyes. "He built a miracle." They stood in silence for a long moment. The machine pulsed softly, like a heart beating underground. Daniel finally spoke. "So what now?" Evelyn looked at him, her face serious. "Now we figure out why he hid it." Later that night, as the sky deepened to black, they sat on the porch. Lily had gone to bed, curled under a quilt in the upstairs room. The crickets sang, and the windmill creaked in rhythm with the stars. Evelyn stared out at the fields. "You know, if this works, it could change everything. Global energy, climate crisis, poverty. But people won't let it happen easily." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "You mean the big guys?" "Corporations, governments, anyone who makes money off what we use to survive." He nodded slowly. "Then maybe that's why he built it underground." Their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Two people from different worlds, now standing on the same fault line of history. "You really think it could work?" Daniel asked softly. Evelyn smiled, the porch light catching her eyes. "I think your uncle might have built something worth dying for." Daniel exhaled slowly, his gaze drifting to the dark barn. "Let's just hope we don't have to."
The Kansas sky was the color of tarnished silver the next morning. Clouds rolled low across the fields, heavy with the promise of rain. Daniel was in the barn early, sorting through the boxes and notebooks Evelyn had cataloged the night before. She sat cross-legged on the ground, coffee mug balanced on a crate, typing furiously on her laptop. "Anything new?" he asked, tossing her a grin. She didn't look up. "Everything. This machine isn't just creating energy, Daniel. It's recycling it. No waste, no heat loss. It's like the universe's best-kept secret just sitting in your backyard." He whistled low. "You really think people could run their homes off this?" "Not just homes," she said softly, eyes flicking to him. "Cities, hospitals, entire countries. Your uncle was 50 years ahead of his time." Daniel exhaled, leaning on a beam. "Then why hide it?" Evelyn glanced at him, her expression turning grave. Maybe he knew what kind of people would come for it if he didn't. Her words hung in the air like fog. By noon, Lily was running around the porch, chasing the dog that came with the property, an old mutt Daniel had named Rusty. Her laughter carried through the air, light and pure, breaking the stillness. Evelyn stood by the railing, smiling faintly. "She's a good kid." Daniel followed her gaze. "Yeah, smarter than I'll ever be. Her mom used to say she got her brain from her."
Evelyn turned, sensing the edge in his voice. "You two aren't—" "She left," he said quietly. "City life, bigger dreams, smaller patience. I guess the country wasn't enough." Evelyn didn't respond right away. Her eyes softened, but she didn't pity him, and he appreciated that more than she knew. After a moment, she said gently, "Well, she missed out." He looked at her then, really looked. The way the sunlight hit her hair, the quiet strength in her eyes. He smiled. Yeah, maybe she did. That's when they heard it. The low hum of an engine coming down the long dirt road. Daniel's smile faded. A black SUV appeared on the horizon, dust trailing behind it. Evelyn set her mug down slowly. That's not delivery. The vehicle rolled to a stop at the gate. Two men stepped out, dark suits, dark sunglasses, and the kind of calm that didn't belong in small towns. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He'd seen that look before. Corporate, government, take your pick. The kind that didn't knock to ask questions. Evelyn's voice dropped low. "Stay calm. Don't say anything about the machine." Daniel nodded, walking down the steps as the men approached. "Mr. Cross?" the taller one asked. His tone was polite but hollow, like every word had been rehearsed. "I'm Agent Ford. This is Agent Hale. We're with the Department of Energy's Investigative Division." Daniel frowned. Didn't know Energy had an investigative division? The man's expression didn't change. "We're conducting a follow-up on your uncle's old projects. We understand you've inherited his property." Daniel folded his arms. "That's right." "Mind if we take a look around?" "Yeah," Daniel said flatly. "I mind." Ford's lips curved into something resembling a smile. "We have reason to believe certain prototypes may have been stored here, potentially unstable. We just want to ensure public safety." Evelyn stepped forward, her voice firm. "You'll need a warrant for that, Agent." Ford turned to her slowly. "Dr. Carter," he said, surprising her. "You should know better than anyone what happens when untested tech ends up in civilian hands." Evelyn's blood ran cold. "You know who I am?" "We know who everyone is," Ford said quietly. "If you've already accessed any data or files, I suggest you delete them, for your own good." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You threatening her?" Ford smiled faintly. "Just advising." The men turned and left, the SUV disappearing down the long road, its tires kicking up clouds of dust that hung in the air long after they were gone. That night, the house felt different, too quiet. Lily slept upstairs, Rusty curled at the foot of her bed. Evelyn sat at the dining table, her laptop glowing softly in the dim light. "They knew my name," she whispered. "They must have tracked the signal when I scanned the machine." Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "So what do we do now?" "Go offline. No emails, no uploads. They'll be watching everything." He walked to the window, staring out at the moonlit fields. "You think they'll come back?" Evelyn didn't answer. The silence stretched until Daniel turned around. She was looking at him, eyes serious, voice barely above a whisper. "Daniel, this isn't just some lost invention. This is a war. You have something that could erase entire industries overnight. People would rather burn the world than let that happen." He exhaled slowly. "Then we make sure it doesn't disappear." She looked at him, something fierce sparking in her eyes. "You're willing to fight for it?" He nodded once. "I'm willing to fight for the world my daughter grows up in." For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of crickets filled the room. Then Evelyn smiled softly. "You really are something else, Daniel Cross." He smirked. "Mechanic, remember? We fix what's broken." Her laugh, soft, tired, genuine, broke the tension. And for the first time that day, the fear in her eyes eased just a little. Outside, in the distance, unseen headlights flashed once and then vanished. A drone hovered for a moment above the field. Silent recording before slipping back into the night. They weren't alone anymore.
The sky that night was ink black, heavy with the kind of stillness that made your skin prickle. The farm slept under a silver moon, the barn a dark silhouette, the fields whispering in soft wind. Inside the house, everything seemed normal. Lily was asleep, curled under her blanket, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Evelyn sat at the dining table, surrounded by notes, her laptop screen casting pale light across her face. Daniel stood at the window, drinking cold coffee, watching the tree line. He hadn't slept in 2 days. "Can't turn it off, huh?" Evelyn asked, her voice gentle. He half smiled without looking away. Old habit. You start to feel it when something's wrong, like the air gets heavier. She shut her laptop, rubbing her temples. "Maybe it's just paranoia." "Maybe," he said, "but my guts kept me alive this long." She rose, walked over, and stood beside him at the window. The moonlight caught her eyes, sharp, thoughtful, searching. "You think they'll come back," she said. "I think they never left." They stood there a moment, side by side, not speaking. The hum of cicadas was the only sound. Then, faintly, a low thump from somewhere outside. Daniel straightened instantly. "You hear that?" Evelyn froze. "Yeah." He grabbed the flashlight, motioned for her to stay behind him, and stepped onto the porch. The night was still, too still, the kind of still that screams danger. He scanned the field. Nothing, just the slow creak of the windmill. Then another thump, closer this time. Metal on metal. Evelyn whispered from behind, "It's the barn." The barn door was ajar. Light flickered inside, faint, irregular, like the glow of a phone screen. Daniel moved quietly, flashlight off, his steps careful on the gravel. When he pushed the door open, the smell hit first. Gasoline. A figure in black was crouched near the generator, splashing something on the floor. Another stood by the underground hatch, prying it open. Daniel's voice was low, hard. "Step away." The nearest man turned, ski mask, gloved hands, gun at his hip. "Mr. Cross," the man said coolly, "you should have listened to the warning." Daniel took a slow step forward. "You don't belong here." "Neither does that machine," the man replied, nodding toward the hatch. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Then tell me." But the man just smiled and struck a match. The gasoline caught instantly. Flames raced across the floor, crawling up the old wooden beams. "Daniel!" Evelyn shouted, running into the barn. He turned as the first masked man lunged. The flashlight clattered across the floor. The two men crashed into a pile of tools, fists and elbows flying. Daniel grabbed a wrench and swung hard. The man went down with a groan. Another came at him from behind, but Evelyn threw something, a metal rod, hitting his wrist. The gun fell, skidding across the floor. "Grab it!" she yelled. Daniel dove for it, but before he could, the third man kicked the weapon into the fire. Flames roared, smoke thickened, the air turned into a furnace. Evelyn coughed, eyes stinging. "We have to get out." Daniel grabbed her arm, dragging her toward the exit. But he stopped when he saw Lily standing in the doorway, barefoot, her small figure outlined by firelight. "Daddy!" she screamed. His heart dropped. "Lily, get back!" She ran toward him. The roof groaned. A burning beam cracked and fell between them. "Lily!" Daniel shouted, trying to push through the fire. Evelyn yanked him back, coughing hard. "Daniel, you can't!" He ripped free, eyes wild. "That's my daughter." Without hesitation, he sprinted through the blaze, shielding his face. The heat tore at his skin. He scooped Lily up in his arms just as the ceiling began to collapse. Evelyn screamed his name, running out as the barn exploded behind them, a bloom of fire lighting up the sky. They fell onto the ground, rolling in the dirt.
Daniel's arms wrapped around Lily as debris rained down around them. "Daddy," she sobbed, coughing. "I gotcha, Bug, I gotcha." Evelyn knelt beside them, her face streaked with soot. The fire roared behind them, consuming everything: papers, tools, the device itself. Or so they thought. Hours later, firefighters from Mason Hollow were still dousing the smoldering ruins. The air was thick with smoke and wet ash. A local sheriff, an old friend of Daniel's late uncle, questioned him quietly by the truck. "Any idea who'd do this?" the sheriff asked. Daniel shook his head. They weren't from around here. Evelyn approached, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "I backed everything up last night. Every schematic, every note. They didn't take it all." Daniel looked at her, exhausted but grateful. "You're kidding?" She smiled faintly. "I never trust one copy." Lily leaned against Daniel's leg, sleepy-eyed, clutching Rusty's collar. "Daddy, can we go home now?" Daniel knelt and kissed her forehead. "We're already home, Bug." Evelyn crouched beside them, her voice gentle. "She's brave. She didn't even cry till after it was over." Daniel smiled softly, brushing ash from Lily's hair. "She gets that from her mom." Evelyn tilted her head. "No, she gets that from you." For a long moment, they just looked at each other, soot-streaked, shaken, but alive. And in that fragile silence between them, something new took root, something deeper than fear. Then Evelyn said quietly, "They'll be back, Daniel. The fire wasn't to destroy it. It was to cover their tracks." He frowned. "You mean?" She nodded. "They think it's gone, but they'll realize soon enough that we are still holding the key." Daniel glanced toward the smoking ruins. "Then we better find out what the hell my uncle was protecting before they do." Evelyn zipped her bag shut. "Then let's finish what he started." And behind them, the last beam of the barn fell with a hiss, sending up a shower of sparks that lit the night sky.
The morning after the fire smelled of wet smoke and heartbreak. The barn stood in ruins, a blackened skeleton against the pale Kansas dawn. Ashes drifted through the air like snow. Daniel sat on the porch steps, elbows on his knees, staring at what was left of his uncle's legacy. His hands were bandaged, his eyes hollow. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago. Lily slept inside, wrapped in blankets. Rusty snored beside her, tail twitching. Evelyn emerged from the kitchen, her hair tied back, sleeves rolled up, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. She handed one to him silently. He took it, nodding his thanks. They sat side by side, the kind of silence between them that didn't need filling. After a while, Evelyn softly, "I checked the readings on my laptop. Before the fire, the energy output spiked." Daniel glanced at her. "Spiked?" She nodded. "The machine wasn't just running, it was sending something. A signal maybe, some kind of data burst." Daniel frowned. "So it talked to something?" "Or somewhere," she said, eyes thoughtful. "Your uncle might have built redundancy, a backup system." Daniel rubbed his face, sighing. "You think it's still here?" Evelyn looked out at the scorched field, the faint trail of smoke curling into the sunrise. "If I were William Cross, I wouldn't have built one miracle, I'd have built 2. Inside the house, Lily stirred awake. Her small voice floated from the bedroom. "Daddy?" Daniel rose, walking in. "Hey, Bug, you okay?" She nodded sleepily, clutching her rabbit. "I had a dream." "Yeah? About what?" She yawned. "Uncle Will. He was fixing something in the field. There were lights. He said it was hiding under the big tower." Daniel froze. "The tower?" Lily nodded. "The one with the birds. He said the real one was sleeping." Evelyn, standing in the doorway, exchanged a look with Daniel, equal parts disbelief and curiosity. "The windmill," she said. "That's what she means. The old silo beside it." Daniel looked down at Lily. "Bug, can you show us where he was?"
Lily smiled, eyes bright. I remember. The silo stood about a quarter-mile behind the ruins, half swallowed by tall grass. Its metal sides were streaked with rust, the old ladder climbing up to a broken platform. Daniel carried Lily on his hip while Evelyn scanned the ground with a handheld detector. "This thing's ancient," she said, adjusting the settings. "But if your uncle buried something, we might pick up anomalies." Wait. The screen blanked, a spike of static. Daniel crouched beside her. "What is it?" She smiled. "Exactly what we're looking for." They cleared away brush and dirt near the base of the silo. Beneath the soil, Evelyn's flashlight caught a glint of metal, a small access panel hidden under the foundation. Daniel pried it open, revealing a keypad coated in dust. Evelyn crouched closer. Old tech, 1980s maybe. But look at this. The design is military grade. He was hiding something serious. Daniel frowned. "Can you get it open?" She smirked. "Can I get it open?" She pulled out her laptop, a portable cable, and started typing. Sparks flew as she bridged the old system with her software. The numbers blinked to life. 0000, then froze. "Needs a passcode," she muttered. Daniel thought for a moment, then turned toward the house. "Wait here." He returned a few minutes later with the charred remnants of his uncle's notebook. The edges were blackened, but some words were still legible. Scattered equations, sketches, and one phrase circled in red ink. "Resonance is the key." He handed it to Evelyn. "Try the frequency from the machine," he said. "The hum, remember it? You recorded it." Her eyes widened. "You're right." She entered the numbers that matched the frequency waveform she'd logged before the fire, 4.26.89. The keypad blinked green. A hiss of air escaped from beneath the silo, as a section of the floor shifted and sank, revealing a narrow passage leading underground. Lily gasped. "Daddy, it's like a secret cave." Daniel smiled, lifting her gently. "Stay close, okay?" Evelyn clicked on her flashlight. "Let's see what your uncle left behind." The air below was cooler, cleaner, like it had been sealed for years. They followed a metal staircase down to a chamber, twice the size of the previous one. The walls gleamed faintly in the beam of the flashlight. And there, standing in the center, was another machine. Taller, sleeker, alive. It pulsed with a soft blue glow, like a sleeping heart. Evelyn's breath caught. He built a second one. Daniel stared in awe. Holy hell! The plaque read, "Quantum Resonance Conversion Engine, Prototype B. For those who will protect it when I cannot." Evelyn ran her hands along the console, scanning it with her laptop. "This one's operational, and look at these stabilizers. He perfected the design. It's not just a prototype anymore." Daniel stepped closer, feeling the vibration through the floor. "It's alive." Evelyn turned, her voice trembling with excitement. "Do you realize what this means? The energy we measured before, it wasn't coming from the first one. It was coming from this. It's been running all along." Lily's voice echoed softly. "Uncle Will said it was sleeping." Evelyn smiled, kneeling beside her. "Looks like it just woke up, sweetheart." They spent hours in that underground chamber. Evelyn took readings, ran diagnostics, pieced together what Will Cross had hidden all those years. She found messages buried in the code, encrypted notes, fragments of thoughts. "If you're reading this, the first engine was only a signal. The real one listens. The future depends on those who choose courage over comfort." Evelyn read it aloud, her voice quiet. "He wanted someone to finish his work." Daniel watched her, the way her eyes shimmered in the blue light. "Looks like he found the right person." She looked up at him, smiling faintly. "You mean us?" Their eyes met, just for a heartbeat, but long enough for both to feel the shift. The unspoken connection that had been building between them now thrummed like the energy around them, steady, undeniable, alive. Then Lily's voice broke the moment. "Daddy, someone's coming." They turned toward the stairwell, the faint rumble of tires in the distance, the echo of engines growing louder. Evelyn's face went pale. They found us. Daniel killed the light, grabbing Lily and motioning for silence. Above them, headlights swept across the field. The faint hum of drones buzzed through the air. Evelyn whispered, "They're scanning the property." Daniel took a deep breath, his voice calm but firm. "We need to move, now." She hesitated, looking back at the machine. "We can't leave it." He met her eyes. "Then we take it." The three of them worked fast. Evelyn disconnected the core unit, a cylinder about the size of a small generator, glowing faintly. She handed it to Daniel, who wrapped it in a tarp and strapped it to his back. The rumble outside grew closer. A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Daniel Cross, step out of the structure." Lily clung to her father's arm, whispering, "Daddy, I'm scared." He bent down, cupping her face. "You hold on to me, Bug. Don't let go, no matter what." Evelyn's hands shook as she shut down the remaining systems. "Ready?" Daniel nodded. "Let's go." They climbed the stairwell in silence, emerging behind the silo, the field stretching wide under the starlight. The black SUVs were back, four this time, headlights cutting through the night like blades. Daniel glanced at Evelyn. "You still got that flare gun?" She pulled it from her bag, nodding. "Good," he said. "You're gonna need it."
The first drops of rain fell like whispers against the metal silo as Daniel, Evelyn, and Lily crouched behind the tall grass. The hum of engines grew louder, the dark SUVs spreading out, forming a perimeter around the property. Daniel's voice was low, urgent. "They'll check the barn ruins first. We've got a minute, maybe less." Evelyn's breath trembled as she checked her laptop one last time. "The backup drive's encrypted, everything's safe, but we can't let them take this." She glanced at the tarp-covered cylinder strapped to Daniel's back, the glowing core pulsing faintly beneath the canvas. Their miracle, their curse. Lily whispered, "Daddy, are they bad guys?" Daniel looked at her, her small face reflecting the fear she was trying to hide. He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "Yeah, Bug, but don't worry, we're faster." He turned to Evelyn. "Trucks behind the shed. If we stay low, they won't spot us." Evelyn nodded, clutching Lily's hand. "Lead the way." They ran through the wet field, silent, hearts pounding. The rain grew heavier, each drop hitting the earth like a drumbeat. Daniel slid into the driver's seat of the pickup, shoving the key into the ignition. Evelyn jumped in beside him, Lily between them under a blanket. Headlights swept across the barnyard behind them. "Go!" Evelyn hissed. Daniel floored it. The tires spun in mud before gripping. The truck lurched forward, fishtailing across the field. Gunshots cracked through the rain. Bullets sliced into the truck bed, glass shattering from the back window. Lily screamed, covering her ears. Daniel shouted over the roar, "Get down!" He swerved onto the dirt road, headlights bouncing wildly as they hit every bump. The black SUVs gave chase, four beams of white light cutting through the night. Evelyn grabbed her bag, pulling out the flare gun. "Left window!" Daniel nodded, veering left. Evelyn leaned out and fired. The flare streaked across the rain, bursting into red fire. The SUV closest to them swerved hard, blinded. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Nice shot." She gave a breathless laugh. "I told you, I don't miss." They tore through the Kansas backroads, winding dirt lanes between endless fields. The rain came harder now, a curtain of water. Evelyn looked back. "They're still on us." Daniel's knuckles were white on the wheel. "We'll lose 'em near the river. There's an old bridge. It's narrow. They can't follow side by side." Lily peeked from under the blanket. "Daddy, are we gonna be okay?" He met her eyes briefly, his voice steady even as adrenaline burned through him. "We always are, Bug, always."
Evelyn reached back, resting a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Your dad's kind of amazing, you know that?" Lily smiled faintly. "Yeah, he fixes everything." Evelyn met Daniel's eyes, her words soft but sure. "He really does." The truck skidded as they turned onto the narrow bridge, old wooden planks shuddering under the weight. Behind them, the SUVs slowed, headlights reflecting off the rain-slick surface. One tried to follow, but the bridge couldn't hold both. Come on," Daniel muttered, flooring the gas. The engine roared, the tires throwing water. They reached the other side just as the first SUV hit a loose board. The whole section of the bridge collapsed, sending the vehicle plunging into the dark river below. Evelyn let out a shaking breath. That was too close, Daniel finished. For a moment there was silence, just the rain on the roof, the sound of breath and heartbeat. Then Daniel slowed the truck, pulling off under the cover of a tree line. The headlights flickered out. They sat in the dark, listening to the storm. Evelyn turned to him, her voice trembling but firm. "We can't keep running like this." "I know," he said quietly, "but until we know who's behind it, we don't have a choice." She stared at him for a long moment, really looking at him. His face was cut and bruised, dirt streaked down his neck, but his eyes were clear, steady. "You'd do anything for her, wouldn't you?" she said softly, glancing at Lily asleep beside them. He nodded. "She's all I've got." Evelyn's expression softened. "You know, most people would have sold that machine by now, cashed out, run off." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I've had enough of running. This thing, it's bigger than money. It's something good. And for once, I want to be part of something good." Rain pattered against the windshield. Evelyn's voice dropped to a whisper. "You already are." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. A connection built not from words, but from the chaos they'd survived together. For the first time, Daniel didn't look away. He leaned closer, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. "You really think this thing could change the world?" She smiled faintly. "I think you already have." And for a fleeting second, in that storm, in that trembling silence, their lips met. Soft, fleeting, but real. A promise in the rain. A thunderclap split the sky. Evelyn pulled back, breathing hard. "We should keep moving." Daniel nodded, though his pulse was still racing. "Yeah, you're right." He started the truck again, headlights low. As they drove deeper into the back roads, Evelyn glanced at the map glowing on her tablet. "There's a university research station about 50 miles east, off the grid. My old mentor runs it. If we can reach him, we can upload everything and get protection." Daniel gave a grim nod. "Then that's where we're going." She turned toward him, eyes filled with quiet conviction. "We can't just save this machine, Daniel. We have to release it, make it public. That's the only way it lives." He gripped the wheel tighter, the glow of the dashboard lighting his determined face. "Then let's show the world what they tried to bury." The rain began to fade as the horizon lightened, the first hint of dawn glowing through the clouds. Behind them, the road lay empty, but the storm had only just begun. Far away, in a darkened command room, a voice spoke over the radio. "They're heading east. Send the next team."
Dawn was breaking when they reached the edge of the valley. The rain had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean. Mist coiling through the wheat fields, the sky painted in streaks of pink and silver. The old research station came into view, an abandoned observatory on a hill, its dome cracked and rusting. Evelyn had worked here once, years ago, before her grant was cut, before the world told her to stop dreaming. Now it was their only chance. Daniel parked the truck behind the overgrown hedges, engine idling softly. Lily stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. "Where are we, Daddy?" "Someplace safe, Bug," he said gently. "For now." Evelyn opened the door, scanning the horizon. No signs of them yet, but they'll come. They always do. Daniel nodded, pulling the tarp off the generator core, the true engine. It pulsed faintly in the light, its blue glow reflecting in his eyes. "Let's finish this," he said. Inside, the observatory smelled of dust and time. Broken computers lined the walls, their screens cracked. A single working generator hummed in the corner, connected to an old satellite uplink Evelyn had helped build years ago. She booted up her laptop, connecting the drives, her fingers flying across the keys. This uplink connects to the scientific archives in 5 countries. Once I send the data, it's public forever. Nobody can erase it. Daniel unstrapped the glowing core and placed it on the table beside her. The faint hum filled the room like a living heartbeat. He looked at her, quiet. "What happens when we do this?" Evelyn didn't look up. "We change everything. Maybe not today, but soon." He smiled faintly. "Then let's make your uncle proud." She paused, eyes softening. "Our uncle." Lily sat by the window, tracing patterns in the foggy glass. "Daddy, I see cars," she said quietly. Evelyn froze. "How many?" Lily squinted. "A lot." Daniel rushed to the window. 3 black SUVs were approaching the base of the hill, followed by 2 unmarked trucks. "They found us," he said. Evelyn's fingers flew faster on the keyboard. "Almost there. I just need a few more minutes." He grabbed the shotgun from behind the door, the same one that had hung above the mantel since the 1960s. "Then that's what I'll buy you." "Daniel?" He turned to her, calm but fierce. "Keep working. Don't stop, no matter what." Evelyn's eyes shimmered. "I'm not losing you too." He smiled, that quiet, unshakable kind. "You won't." He bent down to Lily, cupping her face. "You stay with Evelyn, Bug. You hear me? You don't move." Her lip trembled. "Daddy, are you coming back?" He kissed her forehead. "Always." The engines outside stopped. Doors slammed. Boots crunched on gravel. Voices barked orders. Daniel stepped out into the open air, the wind tugging at his jacket. "Mr. Cross!" shouted a familiar voice. Agent Ford stepped forward, raincoat flapping. "Let's not make this harder than it needs to be." Daniel raised the shotgun, voice steady. "You shouldn't have come here." Ford smirked. "That technology belongs to the government." "No," Daniel said quietly. "It belongs to everyone." The agents raised their weapons. Ford's voice dropped low. "You think you're a hero, Mr. Cross? You're a mechanic. You fix cars. This," he gestured toward the observatory, "is out of your league." Daniel's eyes hardened. "You're right. But I fix what people break. And you people? You've broken plenty." He fired once into the air, a warning. The echo rolled through the valley. Inside, Evelyn hit enter. "Upload initiated," the screen flashed. Data streamed upward, terabytes of files, blueprints and research logs, transferring to networks across the world. She exhaled, tears welling. It's done. But outside, Ford's men moved. Gunfire erupted, the sharp staccato echoing through the hills. Daniel ducked behind the truck, returning fire. Bullets tore through the metal, sparks flying. Inside, Lily screamed, covering her ears. Evelyn pulled her close, shielding her. "It's okay, baby. It's okay." Daniel reloaded, heart pounding. He caught sight of the upload progress through the window. 78%, 84%. Ford shouted, "End it now, or we end you." Daniel didn't move. Guess we're both out of luck. Then, a flash of blue light. The machine inside the observatory surged to life, the glow expanding, pulsing like a heartbeat. Evelyn's eyes widened. It's stabilizing on its own. It's using the satellite to amplify output. The air crackled. The lights flickered. The ground vibrated beneath them. Daniel glanced back toward the doorway. "Evelyn, what's happening?"
She shouted over the roar. "It's charging, absorbing atmospheric ions. It's not just a generator anymore. It's broadcasting energy." Broadcasting? To everyone. Outside, Ford's radio buzzed violently, his men shouting in confusion as their electronics sparked and died. The SUVs went dark, their weapons jammed. A wave of invisible energy swept across the field, quiet and powerful, like the world holding its breath. Daniel stood slowly, lowering the shotgun. The light from the observatory spilled across the field, bathing everything in a soft, impossible glow. Evelyn stepped into the doorway, holding Lily's hand, her hair whipping in the wind. Ford backed away, his voice small now. What did you do?" Evelyn's voice carried through the air. "We gave it back." The agents retreated. The light pulsed once more, then faded. The world fell silent again. Inside, the upload completed. 100%. Data distributed globally. Evelyn stared at the screen, tears streaming down her cheeks. "It's done," she whispered. "It's out there. They can't erase it now." Daniel stepped inside, bruised, drenched, but alive. He smiled, tired, relieved. "You did it." She turned, shaking her head. "We did it." He glanced at Lily, who was watching the blue glow fade into calm light. "No," he said softly. "She did." Lily smiled, small and shy. Uncle Will helped. Evelyn laughed through her tears. "Yes, sweetheart, he really did." Later, the storm clouds parted. The three of them stood outside the observatory, watching the sunrise spill across the valley. The air felt different, cleaner, alive. In the distance, the fields shimmered faintly, as though the earth itself was humming. Evelyn stood close to Daniel, her voice soft. "You think they'll come for us again?" He shrugged. "Maybe, but now the world's watching." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Guess that makes us outlaws of the future." He chuckled, wrapping an arm around her. "Nah, just a mechanic, a scientist, and a kid who believed in fireflies." Lily giggled, chasing one of those very same fireflies across the grass. And for a moment, one perfect, quiet moment, the world felt saved. They say some inheritances are measured in money, in land, in the weight of what's left behind. But some are measured in courage, in love, in what you choose to protect, even when the world says you can't. Daniel Cross inherited more than a farm. He inherited faith in something bigger than himself. A belief that one small act of bravery can rewrite the future. If this story moved you, if you felt even for a moment that hope is still alive, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still believes in change. And tell us in the comments, if the power to change the world landed in your hands, would you have the courage to use it?